Hey guys, it's me Gavin. This will be a video on how to aim your weapon as well as shoot it with a recoil and all the stuff that is essential for kind of an FPS style game. I will be using a little bit of Python and I'm just going to get started. So to start off, double click the A button until everything is selected and hit X and delete. Hit 1 to go into front view and do spacebar and then add a camera like this. And once our camera is added, you're going to drag it back and do spacebar and then add a cube like this. I'm now going to model this cube into a simple gun. So I'm going to do S and Y to scale it out. Then I'm going to go into object mode like this, go from object mode to edit mode, U and not U and unwrap, W and subdivide. Alright, with these top few faces right here, towards the front of our gun, I'm just going to take a couple faces away from the middle. So I'm going to say, let's say 2 from the sides, 2 right here, and 2 right here. Hit B and drag over them to select them like that. And hit E and extrude them like this. Over here now, or on the bottom face, hit Control 7. Let's select a couple of these bottom faces right here by hitting B and dragging over them. And drag it down like this. So, it's a simple looking gun, but it's not very good. That's okay though. Alright, this will work. Let's now go from object mode back to edit mode, and select these bottom faces right here, and do mesh, snap, and then cursor to selected. Go into object mode and do object, transform, and origin to 3D cursor. So we should see that if we rotate it on the x-axis, it'll do this. And that'll work. Whoops. Alright, there we go. Next, I'm going to hit 0 to go into our camera view. I'm going to drag this toward the middle of the screen like this. So if we hit P, it's toward the middle of our screen. Might actually drag this back just a hair. And there we go, that'll work. Next, with our gun selected, let's do object, snap, and then cursor to selected. And let's do spacebar and then add an empty object. Add an empty cube. I'm going to drag this cube towards the top of our gun like this. Right click on your gun, then shift and right click on the empty object and do Control and P to parent it. So if I move the empty around everywhere, the gun follows. Let's then right click on the empty object and then hit shift and right click on our camera and do Control and P to parent that as well. So if I move the camera around, the empty follows that. Alright, what we're going to do is hit 0 to go into our camera view. On our empty object, I'm going to set the keyframe to 6, the end keyframe to 6, and the start keyframe to 0. For our empty object, let's do I and then lock the location on frame 6, hit 0, then drag the gun off to the side like this. And do I and then lock location. So if we hit this play button here, we can see it's going to zoom in like this. With our gun though, I'm going to hit 3 to go into our side view. I'm going to right click on it, and on frame 0, I'm going to do I and then lock the rotation, not the location, but the rotation. Hit keyframe 4 now. Actually, let's do 3. And I'll do I and then lock rotation. Next, what we're going to do is go to keyframe 1 and rotate it like this a bit. Do I and then lock rotation. So if we hit 0 now, we can see it's going to play this kind of large recoil kind of thing. That's how this is going to work. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is go from defaults to game logic and go from Blender render to Blender game. And if we hit 0 to go into our camera view, let's right click on the empty first. So right click on the empty, add an always sensor, add a mouse sensor, and add another mouse sensor. This first mouse sensor, I'm going to rename it as aim, and let's put the middle mouse button, the middle button. And for this one, let's name it as click. I'm going to put tap and keep it at left button. Have a Python controller like this and connect it like that. Alright. What we're now going to do is add a integer game property, integer like this. Let's rename this as keyframe, and I'll put it at 6. Alright, with our keyframe selected as 6, let's now add an action actuator on our empty object, change it from play to property, Let's put in the empty action, and let's put that it's going to be equal to, the keyframe is going to be equal to the property keyframe. Connect these like this. Okay, now that we have that, what we're going to do is create a script by doing templates Python and then game logic simple. Delete the portion that I've highlighted and hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And rename this to game script or weapon script. How about that? Weapon scripts.py. And let's add that weapon scripts.py into our Python controller. Let's get our aim and our click actuators. So aim is going to equal count that sensors aim. Click is going to equal count that sensors click, like this. And what we're now going to do is, so as you can see right here, our keyframe is at, when it's at 6 is in aim mode. I'm going to put the keyframe down here to 0 for now though. And what we're going to do is if aim.positive, positive, and if own keyframe is less than 6, so we're not aimed at the time, we're going to have own keyframe is going to plus equal 1. Next, what we're going to do is have an else statement. So if we're not holding down the middle mouse button, if own keyframe is greater than 0, own keyframe is going to minus equal 1. So we should see if we hit play, we can do this with the mouse. So we can aim and zoom out. It's good. The last thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to minimize this. I'm going to drag the script out for 1 second. I'm going to hit Z to go into wireframe and then shift and right click on our gun. Now, on our gun or our cube, add an actuator action. I'll name this as fire. And for the play, let's put the cube action like this. And since the animation I believe was from keyframe 0 to 4, I'm going to put that inside of here. Let's now connect the action actuator fire to our Python controller, like that. So fire to Python controller, and let's get that inside of our script by doing fire is going to equal count at actuators fire. And what we're going to do now is have if click.positive, we're going to do const.activates fire. So since the gun will follow the empty object around, I'm going to hit Z to go out of wireframe. You can see that no matter where we click it, it's still going to play the animation, the fire animation. And that's how this works, is as you can see, I'm aiming down my sights, and we can still fire, and that was just 2 animations that we did. The one for the empty object, which was the aiming, and the one for firing the pistol, which was this. Alright guys, I hope you found this useful. I will probably make a tutorial later on where we add some bullets to this as well, because as you can see, this is kind of cool. And if we see it from outside the camera view, it's just going to look like this. You can see it's just slowly transitioning between the hit fire mode and the aim mode. Alright, I hope you guys found this useful.